Welcome back to the Pixelists Podcast, my friends, the podcast about all the nerdy things we love and enjoy. As always, we're your hosts. That's Blake. I'm Will, and today we're here to talk about Critical Role, and specifically the penultimate episode of Critical Role. It is finale week, y'all, and we're going to talk about that. But before we do, just our usual couple quick of announcements here. The finale of Critical Role is this week. So first and foremost, join us for the last Campaign 3 watch party. 9 hours long, basically. Really longer, to be honest.
Are we staying up for this thing? Are we getting snacks and staying up for this thing? Oh my gosh, are we doing this?
Like, tentatively, that's my plan, you know? Like, yeah. I'm gonna see. I can't promise I'll make it, but
I did cancel my 9 a.m. meeting. I mean, sure, my kids got to eat, but you know, when's this gonna happen again?
Right? And
so,
I mean, well, yeah, I mean, let's just go ahead and talk about it. So I think like my plan is to, clear the schedule Friday morning and just, we'll see what happens. For Campaign 2, it was similarly really long. And I went into it being like, I'm going to stay up as long as I can and we'll see what happens. And I stayed up for the whole thing and it wasn't like a struggle. So I'm assuming, if the adrenaline, the emotion for the finale just keeps me going, then I'm going to keep going. So
I'm going to eat the whole thing. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm like, I'm going to do it. But then I also know that, we're almost 40, man. And so I just feel like around 1 a.m., which would be around the 4-hour mark, that's less than halfway, dude.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in real pain.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, that's what, like, trust yourself, listen to your body. And that goes for everybody out there. But, so I'm not going to like force myself if I'm falling asleep, but like I said, with Campaign 2, it just happened and it was natural. Yeah. So I'm prepared to. I'll put it that way.
What do we got going on in our snack game for this momentous event?
No, I don't have anything yet. I've been thinking about like what I want to get. And then I was thinking, do I want to get some brews? But then that's dangerous if you're trying to stay up for
brews
9
seem
hours.
Fun for the occasion. Seems like a bad idea I think you got to hydrate, just water and snackage.
Yeah.
Part of me feels like I should get a pie in honor of Orem.
I like that. Where would you get it from?
I'd probably get, this is spoken like a true degenerate, snack eater. But you know how like the grocery store has, I think they're called Edwards is the brand?
Yeah.
Like the frozen pies, and they have key lime and they have Oreo. Man, I can put away a whole one of those.
Bro, that takes me back.
And they have like the bigger size and the smaller size. I've never bought the smaller size before, but I feel like that could be something I would do.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm definitely going to do something. It's an occasion, And I mean, this. I don't know. We maybe have talked about it randomly, but Campaign 3 is where the Chick-fil-A Thursday Splurge Critical Role Night originated. And I haven't been doing that for a while. But I might just need to do that for old time's sake.
I just
maybe get some Andes. Just pull on over to Andes right after I leave Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. Speaking of, we were like on an Andes kick, and then we finally like looked up how much sugar is in one.
I don't want to know.
It was like 100 grams of sugar. And we
I'm
were like,
sure.
Maybe we should stop doing this every week.
It's also really expensive, but it's so good.
Dude, it's gotten crazy expensive. It's like $8.
Yeah.
Like, what's happened? But when you talked about Chick-fil-A, I just envisioned like a guy who works there, who's worked there like long term, and like you disappeared, and he like lies awake at night, like wondering, like, hope that guy's okay. Yeah. And then you come through the drive-through, and he just gives like a knowing look.
He's
like,
back. Yeah,
you're okay, man.
They used to, at least some of them used to know me there.
Yeah, that's cool and a little sad, but
they knew me at Taco Bell in college.
It's not as sad, I guess, because it's college. Taco Bell also very expensive.
Bro, don't even get me started. Like, it's crazy how much that has evolved over the past like 5 years even.
Mickey D's is the only one holding down the fort.
And I mean,
in terms of
only because of that one deal that they don't always have.
Yeah. Well, now they have the buy one, get one for $1, which is about the same. It's a pretty good deal on their value menu.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
Okay.
Usually when I talk about this, I like to talk about the fact that I have young kids who need to be fed, but it's usually just me in my car. So they're like, and you got the 3 cheeseburgers and nuggets, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Just bring it out.
You
Just bring
taking
it
this
out.
home to somebody? No, don't judge me.
Yeah, that reminds me of this time my wife and I were traveling, and we like could not find a place to eat. Like we were on a highway that like we could not find an exit with food, and then we finally like got to this town. We went into like this. It was like a Panera Bread-esque type of place. Went in. Oh no, it was a pizza place, and ordered a pizza to go. There was another lady right by us who was also waiting for her pizza. She gets this pizza. We ended up walking out at the same time, did kind of like the awkward smile, like, we get in the car, we're driving. We are kind of like driving because we're like, we want something sweet too. So we drive to like around a couple blocks and we finally saw like this ice cream place. We pull in, we get out of the car, we're walking up, and the same lady is walking out with the to-go bag of ice cream. And she just had this look of like, don't judge me. We were just like, no, yeah, totally. It's, could be for the, I don't know. I just never forget her face of like, oh God.
Like, oh,
they're here.
What are the chances?
Also, speaking of ice cream, so we do life on a budget, so no Andes, but Joy went to the dollar store last night.
Yeah.
To get some dollar ice cream, some hidden gems, and they were out. They were out of the dollar ice cream.
That's annoying.
They're out of all ice cream, which I'm like, Dollar General or Dollar Store, how are you guys out of the cheap ice cream?
Yeah,
like,
what's going on?
Who's buying up all the ice cream?
Yeah.
We gotta get to the bottom of this.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, probably enough of those. This is what you came here for, fam. The random.
That's right. Point
stories.
is,
yeah.
to circle back, join us. I don't know what exactly I'm going to do. We'll do something fun. I know the Discord's going to be fun. Like, we'll talk more about it probably in our next episode, but it's been one of the best parts of doing all of this for campaign 3 is you guys. So I'm really excited to celebrate and experience this finale with all of you. And so anybody out there that's never joined the Discord, never participated, it's your last chance. So for campaign 3 at least. So you should join us. It'll be fun.
Because then we are deleting the Discord.
That's right.
Right after. Yep. Yeah. Well, then we're gonna be eating good. Because then next Thursday we got Little Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Calamity Mr. Part 2, really.
Yeah.
And Matt and Liam players.
Yes.
Very excited. This is gonna be the first time that Brennan's GM'd Matt in Exandria. So I'm very excited for that.
Do you think we're getting a new word intro? Like we've had fire, earth, water.
I didn't even think about
light.
That.
So I kind of wonder. I just wonder, will we get
actually, I didn't even think about that. Definitely possible, but maybe they're like, let's close the book on that. I don't know.
I'm just queuing up your next YouTube short.
That's right.
This is for people who want to know what behind the scenes looks like at the Pixelists. This is what the storyboarding, the whiteboarding looks like right here. Just throwing ideas back and forth. So.
Speaking of, this was cool. Sam liked my recent one.
Ooh,
it got like 1,000 total views, but I guess one of them was him. So I was like,
YouTube or Instagram?
That's fun. Instagram.
Yeah, okay. Sam, I know you. You follow us.
Sam, big fan of the channel. We know.
I will say one of like my that's cool moments from this campaign was when we said something about the Critical Role wiki, and then we got the message from them that was like, hey, we noticed in your video you said you couldn't find this detail. And then I was like, oh my gosh.
That was super cool.
It was only cool because we love the Critical Role wiki. And so I was like, wow, I'm very, very humble. These people, which they probably checked out like a random video and we're like, hey, these guys can't find it. But which, by the way, there are so many resources out there like Omen Archive and the wiki. And if you haven't checked out these resources, they are a Herculean. Is that the right word? Herculean?
I always, that's a word that every time I want to say it, I always get in my head about how to pronounce it. So I can't really tell you.
I just triggered some PTSD there of like, oh no, not this word again. Herculean, I think, effort managing all of that. So
Yeah.
we got to give a lot of love to our Critical Role resources and pour one out for our old friends at
Critical Role Stats. Yeah.
Yeah.
Legends.
We missed you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was a long intro.
Yeah. I was trying to think. I mean, that was the main thing. I wanted to invite everybody to come watch the finale with us, but is there anything else we need to talk about?
Do we think Friday's streams happen? I kind of envisioned a post hyped up on caffeine live stream.
Yeah.
But with how long it is,
that'd be fun.
I don't know. I think we tentatively plan on it, but I also don't know who will have actually finished it by then.
Yeah, it's a good point.
People have, but maybe we have like a part 1 of it and then like a part 2 the following week.
I guess we'll see, because we might not even. I won't speak for you. I can't guarantee that I'll make it.
Let's be real, guys. Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
we're gonna have to see what happens.
Yeah. Hypothetically, if both you and I both watch the whole thing afterwards, it could be fun to like immediately do like a quick live stream. But yeah.
We'll let you guys know, and then I feel like this is like a theme of 2025 of the stream, but it's only because it's been like a weird.
Yeah.
Been a weird last 30 days, I guess.
So. Been the month of January was the longest year of my life. So
yeah, everyone's been saying that.
But yeah, in Wizard, Witch, and the Wild One.
Yes,
probably coming Monday.
I think so. Yeah, either that or maybe late Friday. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll have to see. But yeah, Monday at the latest for sure.
But yeah, I think that's everything in that case.
Okay, let me get my old noties up.
The noties.
well, without.
Or go ahead.
Oh, because I'm first half, right?
Yeah. But I thought you were gonna like have to look, so I was just gonna.
Yeah. I gotcha. I always have like this crisis of, oh no, was I supposed to bring the tickets or the sandwiches?
It's surprising that I think that's only happened to us once.
Yeah.
In 3 years, where we thought we were the same half. So.
Yeah. This is our second to last recap, by the way.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, we like to do a little recap of what happened in the latest Critical Role episode, and then we take that recap and cut it out as its own separate piece of content. And so if you're there watching that, hello. If you want to see our full thoughts and theories and discussions about the episodes, or if you want to let us know your thoughts about the episode, check the link down in the description box below for a link to the full video for this episode. But this was Campaign 3's Critical Role episode 120, The Red End. And this episode opens up with effectively the second health bar for Predathos. The music kicks up a bit and we get a new form of Predathos that appears in the hallowed cage. Notably, it's an amazing set that Matt and the Critical Role team have put together. But you have this large head that's sort of like come out of the wall, and then these two large hands that can sort of like appear around the room. Most of this episode is about a 5-hour episode. Most of this episode was combat. And what we try to do in combat episodes, because it gets really in the weeds, is we try just to stick to the highlights of what happens in combat. And the break's going to happen about, I think, around the 3-hour mark through this combat. So leading up to the break, I'll cover a handful of things. One is the lair action of this. I think Matt called this form Predathos the Evolving. I'm pretty sure is what it was. The lair action is that Matt, I think, rolls a d4, rolls something, I think, but a certain number of hands are going to appear. And these hands obviously can slash and swipe. They can move around the room, and Predathos himself can also burrow and appear elsewhere in the room. There's a number of really cool homebrew abilities that Matt creates for Predathos that all of them sound epic, all of them sound terrifying, and every time he says when the cast is like, wait, what is that? What is that going to do? And it's always horrific. And this was a pretty challenging boss encounter. We see
Yeah.
a number of nat 20s and also crits, because Predathos actually crits on an 18 or higher. So a large number, probably more nat 20s in this combat than I can remember for any other combat in Campaign 3.
It felt that way.
Predathos also has a reaction where when he's getting a melee attack, he can, and I don't remember the name of the ability, but he can effectively harden the crystals that are around his head to gain temporary hit points. And with that, Chetney, I think, immediately goes to trying to beat at the head of Predathos. And Matt explains that there is sort of like this crystal barrier that he's going to have to break through to really begin to damage Predathos. We also get, since the party did level up 2 levels from the boon from the matron, we know that a few of the party members now have level 9 spells, notably Imogen and Dorian. Right off the bat, at the start of combat, we get the first level 9 spell from Dorian, the first level 9 spell cast by the party in the campaign, and this is Foresight. And since level 9 spells are so rare, I'll go ahead and read to you what the description of it is. You touch a willing creature, and they can see into the future. They can't be surprised, and they now have advantage on all attacks, ability checks, and saving throws, and any other creature's attacks against them are done so at disadvantage. So Robbie's character immediately becomes like Super Saiyan, ready to do battle. And I can't remember if it was a lightning bolt or what the spell was, but he casts some spell with lightning damage, and Matt reveals that Predathos is actually weak to lightning, which is going to be a theme through the combat, especially Imogen realizing that she is the heavy hitter. As a sorcerer, she has the transmutation ability to convert any of her spells to lightning damage, which will come into play later. But we do also get from Imogen her 9th level spell, which I think was, oh man, actually I don't have the name of it in front of me. It's like the blade rift, or I can't think of the exact name of it. But essentially, you create a blade-shaped planar rift 3 feet long and a space you can see. The blades last for the duration, and when you cast it, you get 2 melee spell attacks with the blade, each one against a creature, and the target takes 4d12 force damage, and also scores a critical hit on an 18 or higher, which, when a crit happens, the blade actually does 8d12 additional force damage, and we do, in fact, get one of those during this combat session for a total of 12d12 damage against Predathos. Not even close to the highest damage that's done in this combat, by the way. Other than that, the other detail I'll give is Predathos has an ability where he will attempt to swallow a player, and Orem actually is swallowed at one point, but reaction, I think, Misty steps out from the mouth of Predathos to land safely elsewhere. And then the only other detail in this first half that's important is Predathos also has the ability to regenerate hit points at the start of every round, and we get a very clever chill touch from Laudna, which prevents Predathos then from regenerating health. All that to say, we get to a point where I don't want to steal your thunder, but it gets pretty wild and crazy. And like I mentioned, around the 3-hour mark, we go to break. When we come back from that, why don't you tell us a little bit of what happens?
Yeah. So everyone starts dropping like flies, basically. At one point, Predathos does his move where he swallows somebody to Imogen, and that actually knocks her unconscious. So she's KO'd inside Predathos. And that's kind of where we pick up. And Dorian is also unconscious at this point. So we kind of pick up with him making a death saving throw and being successful. We then go to Imogen, who starts her turn taking damage because she's inside of Predathos. So that's a fail automatically on her death save. But then she makes her actual death save for her turn and saves. So they're both still out, but not on death's door yet. So the plan quickly becomes, we got to get Imogen out of there. So Ashton kind of dives in, starts whacking on Predathos, gets in the mouth, and then uses his immovable rod on his hammer to basically like pry the mouth and hold it open. Ashton is then able to successfully pull her out. And then Laudna actually does a really cool kind of combo move with that setup. Because if you recall, Ashton's hammer has that like kaleidoscopic gems, basically. And so Laudna aims her disintegrate at the hammer in order to basically shotgun it. And she is successfully able to do this. Like she hits the roll that Matt makes her roll. But I think Predathos, his head actually ends up saving on the disintegrate, but she does successfully hit some of the hands with it. Aurum is the next big thing that happens, and he runs and gives Dorian a healing potion to get him back up. But at the same time, Predathos uses a legendary action to knock Aurum unconscious. So like he immediately gets Dorian up, but he's down. So we're kind of at the same level. Not Aurum. Dorian then uses his turn to I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. A lot of stuff happened here. So Aurum goes down, and then Fern goes down as well. And she actually rolls a nat 1 on her death save. So immediately 2 fails. And in the midst of this chaos, Breus has also gone down, and he fails his death save. So then Dorian, who is now freshly up thanks to Aurum, flies up and casts Mass Heal Wounds and gets everyone that was down back up, and a lot of healing goes out as well. Combat then kind of continues like normal, people getting in damage where they can, until we get to Imogen's next turn. And here is where she decides to use the Ring of Remembrance, which was given to her by the Arkheart. And a reminder for how this works is she needs to roll a number on a d20 higher than her current HP. If she's successful, she casts Meteor Swarm. If she's unsuccessful, Meteor Swarm still gets cast, but she takes all of the damage. Now, she's only at 3 HP, so she goes for it and has a really high chance of success because she just needs to roll a 4 or higher, and she is successful. So she casts Meteor Swarm, but she decides to use a sorcery point to transmute the fire damage portion of it into thunder damage because Predathos is weak to that to deal even more. And because I think you get 4 separate meteors, she's able to hit both the hands and the head of Predathos here. And this ends up being not only like the highest damage single round in the combat, but in the history of Critical Role, not just this campaign, where shout out to the Omen Archive for doing the math here, where she did 1,865 points of damage, all things considered, with the weakness and the way that the damage from the hands like reflects back on the head. So insane. And of course, this gets her the how do you want to do this moment. And basically, Predathos just starts like crumbling and disintegrating away. And combat is over. And everyone is up still from that big heal from Dorian. So nobody needs to be like immediately tended to or anything. So in the immediate aftermath of this, basically this whole central chamber is like crumbling and shaking and is about to just go implode essentially. But out of the remains of Predathos, a light emerges, the same light that they saw like before this encounter started. Except now it like diffuses and goes into Imogen. But she's in control now because Predathos is kind of dormant since they defeated him. But she knows that this will not last forever and they need to get moving. So they're like, okay, well, we need to go talk to the gods. But first, we just need to get out of here because this place is falling apart. And they're like, how are we going to do that exactly? And so they kind of panic a little bit and are like, okay, like, who can we call? Who can we call? And so they message Caleb first. And he's like, I'm pretty spent on terms of my spell slots on a meta level. But, I could try to help you guys. But then they're like, well, hold that thought. And they decide to message Plane Rider Rin. And they're like, hey, we did it. Can you come get us, though? We're kind of stuck here. So Rin casts Scry on them in order to divine their location, does, and then teleports to them. And then they talk about, okay, well, where do we go? And they ultimately arrive at, well, let's go to the secret Ruidian entrance. And after trying to figure out how to describe that to Rin so that she can teleport them there, I think they eventually I think it's Laudna, finds a doll that she took from those ruins, and that's able to attune her. So boom, perfect. Rin teleports all of them. Well, all but one, because they have one too many. So I think is it Ashton that gets in the hole? Maybe Dorian.
I
One
think
of them gets in
Ashton.
the portable hole.
Yeah.
And then they all teleport to the ruins at the secret waterfall entrance to Ruidus. But when they arrive, they see that there are actually like hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers and people here, as the armies of Exandria who have been using this portal to come through to Ruidus for their, their next assault. The soldiers see Bell's Hells and they immediately like call over one of their commanders, and we see that the Dusk General arrives, and this is a massive elf bearing the symbol of the Moonweaver, and they're flanked by some Celestials and some other people as well. And this general is named Akorai, and he asks, "Are you Bell's Hells?" And they're like, "Yes." And "Have you succeeded?" And they say, "Yes." Then one of the Celestials kind of looks over Imogen and says they carry with them the God Eater. Everyone at that gets really tense, like some start to draw their weapons, and a massive female Goliath kind of strides up and is like, "They need to die. We need to kill her right now." And her eyes burn red as she casts divine intervention and calls upon Grumsh the Ruiner to basically kill Imogen. So Matt then describes like this massive red eye like opening up in the ceiling of this chamber as Grumsh is like looking down on them. But then the eye just kind of recedes and goes away without doing anything. And they basically realize that if they kill Imogen, Predathos will be set free. So they can't really do that. And Bell's Hells is like, "Yeah, so step aside. We need to go talk to people above your pay grade." And they have to make, I think, a group persuasion/intimidation check, but they ultimately succeed. So the Celestials say, "Okay, we'll escort you. We'll take you to the walls of Vasselheim, but we can't take you inside. That's going to be up to them to like allow or deny you passage." So the party then step through this portal back to Exandria, and then they tree stride to the gates of Vasselheim. And that's where the episode ends. Again, episode 120, the penultimate episode of Campaign 3, The Red End. Ooh, baby. We set up for some chaos, I think, coming up next.
I got distracted during your recap because you reminded me of Omen Archive, so I jumped on there, and it's a lot of data. They even have a section called A Titty Tradition, which I'm assuming is every time there was some like boob poppage outage
That's
that
hilarious.
happened in the campaign, but they have it like broken down by timestamps, and it's just funny. But
was
I
that this
didn't mention
episode
that.
that they did that to Breas, or was that last?
Yeah.
That's
I didn't
funny.
mention it because it felt like it to talk about it would detract from the recap, I guess. But yeah, that was this episode. So
The important
anyway,
stats to keep track of, for sure.
yep. Man, it's crazy we're here.
Yeah.
Final episode of Campaign
Yeah.
3.
Man,
It's a weird
so
feeling.
the first thing I want to ask, which I don't want to muddy the waters with like two separate subjects yet, but in terms of something we talked about, the Ludinus fight maybe being underwhelming, what do you think about this fight, considering this one was truly the climax, I think we could safely say?
So I haven't done any reading about this, so I'm not sure like how much critical analysis has gone into it. I'll maybe cheat and give two because I actually was thinking about this earlier today. From a D&D DM with their players, this was an incredible combat. Very unique. The stakes, I mean, the party, I mean, we're talking I'm just thinking about if Ashton didn't go for the mouth, succeed on the strength check, get Imogen out, there's no Ring of Remembrance. Similarly, if Aurum doesn't get the healing potion to Dorian, there's no Mass Cure Wounds.
Yeah.
So, man, this fight was definitely, this was probably the first fight since Otahan where I felt like Matt was not pulling punches. And coincidentally, it's one of the few fights there wasn't an external NPC involved in the fight. It was just Bell's Hells and this character. So from a GM perspective, I love the fight, love the flavor of it. I loved, the party like pulling out all stops to win. From a story perspective, I still would have liked more from Ludinus, and I would have liked Ludinus involved in this fight in some way. Only because from like a narrative standpoint, Predathos is still a relatively disassociated figure. It's not the right word, but there's not much of there's not the same emotionality and connection there is with Ludinus. In the sense of like there's lore around Predathos. It's important to fight Predathos, but even the party themselves are pretty torn on like, is Predathos a bad guy? We don't really know. So epic fight from D&D, from a D&D perspective, I still found story-wise for it to be a bit of if it is the final fight, which I'd have to lean on you in terms of past campaigns, if it is the final fight, which it seems like it is, it's still a bit disappointing for me.
I think it's final fight is probably a misnomer that I shouldn't have used. I think it's the climactic boss fight, the big BBEG, like the big combat at the end of the campaign was that. That being said, I still think we're going to see Ludinus this Thursday. I mean, the episode is 9 hours long. There is absolutely a combat in this episode, and it's gotta be Ludinus.
Okay.
So
in the like campaign 2, campaign 1, was there combat in the finales for both of those?
There was in campaign 2. I can't remember. I don't. It's been so long since campaign 1. I don't think so, but I can't remember like where they ended. Like where they ended the second to last episode and where they picked up with the last one. The end of campaign 1 might have been mostly RP, but campaign 2 definitely had combat. And again, just because, I've been saying it the whole time that I don't think Ludinus is done, but that plus the 9-hour runtime, like there's no way it's 9 hours of just RP. Like it's.
I think I need like an emotionally connecting final battle to like really send it home for me for this campaign.
But what I would say is that like I wouldn't expect it to be like like I think Predathos was the boss fight. I think there will be a combat with Ludinus, but maybe it will be even crazier for all I know. But I think who knows what's going to happen, but like, especially if they don't get to rest or anything, then like,
9 hours is a freaking long session.
Yeah.
And we know they did it over two days.
Right.
So it's nice the players will have had a small gap to like restore the creative juices. So I don't think we're going to get 3 meaty hours and then like 6 hours of meandering. I'm really curious. This is my first finale. I'm very curious for how this is going to pan out. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I would love to see Ludinus. I'm trying to just really temper my expectations to not be disappointed and to not, I mean, I loved doing this campaign with you, but I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm like feeding myself being overly critical. Like I want to just enjoy it for what it is, right? So I'm trying to like, maybe this is a bit like overly analytical, but I'm just trying not to like feed my mind. It better have this, or if it doesn't have that. But I am also acknowledging like the raw feelings I have of just like, how like the Family Guy has the running joke of like using the 9/11, like Lois using the 9/11 thing where she like is campaigning for something. She goes 9/11 and everyone just like cheers. I'm really trying to resist Calamity being that for me.
Yeah.
Where like I just always point back to Calamity. But frankly, I have been chasing a high that I felt during Calamity that I've been I've been looking for that same feeling of awe and like it's finished since then, and I'm anxious and excited for the finale of like, and I know it's silly to be like, is it going to be as good as Calamity? I don't mean it that way, but like there are certain boxes and like emotional notes that I hope get hit. And I think it will. I don't know if there's a happy ending in this story. But who knows?
Yeah.
You know, who knows? So
I yeah, I would.
I don't know if
And
that's I don't know if that's a non-answer, by the way. I'm probably like I'm kind of processing this as we're talking about it. So this is
yeah,
probably like a jumbled mess, you know, but
no, I get what you're saying. And not that you were saying this, but I wouldn't expect Calamity just because of the nature of how different those like that
yeah.
one we basically knew like it truly was ending. Like they were all
Yeah.
dying. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there will be open-endedness to this to some extent because they'll return to these characters for one shots just like they have with the other two campaigns. You know what I mean? So like and not and again, you probably weren't saying that like it needed to be that same level of like finality
Right.
and poignancy, which I think there will be that, but it's not going to compare to like this this story is ending because we're all dead. You know what I mean? So
No,
like
yeah. It's
it
kind of
won't be
like
like that.
yeah, it's kind of like a feeling of satisfaction that okay, this story
Yeah.
we experience the beginning, the middle, and this is the end. You know, and I'm satisfied with the end of the story. Which, you know, Matt's not gonna, you know, and catch campaign 4 to see what happens. No, I don't think that's gonna happen, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to have like a very open-minded
Yeah.
perspective.
I mean, I think that's the safest bet, you know?
Yeah.
And here's what I'll say. I feel like I know you were joking, but campaign 1 I felt real like had for me more of that the story is come to a close. Like we're closing the book on these guys. We may see them again, but like it really did feel like the end of their story to me. And you know, we saw them a bunch of campaign 3, but that's what it felt like then. Campaign 2 felt more open-ended. And maybe it's because where they were at Critical like as a company and as whatever Critical Role is because they knew they were going to do one shots. They knew they were going to do maybe show back up in campaign 3. So like I'm curious to see what the energy is for this one like cuz there's a lot of stuff left undone when campaign 2 ended like in terms of like I mean you know this but like Ukatoa which they then resolved in the reunion. Um so I'm curious if there will be any of that for this. I'm trying to think of what it could even be.
Mm.
Because there's really not anything equivalent to Ukatoa, I would say. Um, but anyway, I guess all that to say is that, you know, I think the best bet is to kind of just temper the expectations, see what's what. And really, this campaign, more than the other two, it really could go any way, right? Because, like, what's going to happen with Predathos and the gods? Like, it could be a situation where it's like, tune into campaign 4, not to like see what happens with the Bell's Hells, but to be like, to see what comes of this type of thing. So yeah, I don't know.
Do you yeah, how much time do you think will there be between campaign 3 and campaign 4?
I don't know, man. I would assume like I was very surprised that we're getting Divergence next week. Like that
Yeah.
really surprised me. So I think there will definitely be a break. Months. Like I would guess like 2 to 3 months at the minimum. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean we won't have anything for that time because
Yeah.
we already have Divergence. They might maybe Candela, maybe whatever. But like before campaign 4 proper starts, I think it'll be at least 3 months.
Yeah. One thing that I think with everything said and done, when this campaign ends, I think the tension that I know I've constantly felt, and it seems like other people have felt too, and it's been at least talked about in the Discord, um, enjoying the show as a show watcher versus the players enjoying playing D&D. And the number of times that there's been like criticisms or critiques about like certain episodes, and then you cut to that episode and you have players in the episode being like, "This is so great, this is awesome," or "Great job, Matt," and it's like, I don't know, it's part of me for campaign 4. I hope this is such a silly thing to say. I wanted to kind of be like, I hope there's a little less deep critique over like what they decide to do and like how much time they take off, and like I hope there's not like, are you guys really going to take this much time? It's because at the end of the day, it is people enjoying. But I guess on the same token, certain platforms are just inherently toxic. So
Yeah, it'll probably get worse.
oh no,
if anything.
oh
Because
probably
now,
right.
because now you'll have people that just came in from C3 that are going to be mad that if anything's different from C3, just that like people were
Yeah.
mad who started on C2 that
Yeah.
C3 was different and yada yada yada. But yeah, I'm totally with you.
Do you think, I noticed in the State of the Role, Matt had a very particular line where he said, hey, the finale, and for our listeners, we're referring to the State of the Role YouTube video that came out this last week that talked about like the future of Critical Role. But one thing Matt said was like, yeah, the finale is on this day, and this is really, it was actually, he didn't, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but he didn't really say it's the end of campaign 3. He really said this is the end of like the 3 campaigns story.
Yeah.
Like the language was very intentional there.
Mm-hmm.
What did you make of that?
Yeah, I noticed the same thing, and it made me wonder what's next. Like will C4 be on Exandria? But yeah, I've noticed that which I could see it being both ways. It could also be that that's just true. Like this is involved. It's been a plot, like it's an overarching story across all the campaigns, really. Vox Machina and Mighty Nine have showed up, so maybe that's just an accurate way to describe it without any meta implications. But
yeah,
at the same time, they're definitely harping it up that way. And then the campaign wrap up is not called the campaign wrap up; it's called Exandria wrap up. So that's interesting too.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh
wow. So like in March, they're doing Exandria wrap up, and they say ask questions about all 3 campaigns in EXU.
That feels intentionally. I'm very uncomfortable. I do not like that. I don't like that. Wow.
Make of that what you will.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to belabor too much into this because I'm sure we're gonna have a lot more to say after Thursday's episode. But going back to the combat from this episode, I loved the Ring of Remembrance play.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Like, and you mentioned it in your recap, highest damage across all
ever. Yeah.
Pretty insane.
Yeah.
And I love that she just found the perfect moment to use it.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 HP, this is the time to use it. 100% for sure.
Yeah, that was a beautiful moment. I bet I wonder if Abu was cheering at home if he was watching, since he created that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was extremely poetic, and the flex of, because I doubt it was necessary to transmute that damage to Thunder. Like I bet it would have done the job anyway. I mean, who knows? But just goes like she's such a good player, and just thinking of that. But yeah, that was awesome.
I loved. Or go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I loved how smart Travis was too in the combat, because we had some good damage from Turmoil, but then we also had the Blink spell, which I don't remember how he cast that, but casting Blink on Imogen to basically keep her alive until she come back into combat. And then obviously the mass cure wounds was incredibly clutch. I kind of wonder what happens if we get a TPK in this episode, because they weren't far off,
Right? Yeah. I mean, they were over half of them were down at one point. I'm pretty sure,
there was a point,
or half.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point in the Discord, I think it was during the break, where we were like, "Who's actually up right now?"
Yeah,
like that's how dire it was. And I think the only reason Ashton stayed up was he had that cool feat that made him immune to damage until his next turn.
Yeah.
Like the glass skin or whatever it was called.
Right. And at one point he would have gone down, but he stayed up with that 1 feat or whatever it is that instead of
Yes.
going down, you stay up at 1 HP or whatever.
Shout out to the complexity of Talison's character that, 120 episodes in, I'm
Yeah.
still discovering. There was something else, by the way, on that. I think it was last episode in like the first health bar fight where he did something and people are like, what is that? What are you doing? Like, what's that ability?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, okay. So anyway.
But yeah, I always wonder those things too. That maybe, I mean, we could even submit it, but might be something he gets asked in the wrap up about, what would have happened if they had gone down there. Yeah, I guess the way things were set up, maybe Vox Machina or Mighty Nine would have tagged in, not like immediately, but then it would have been like an episode or two of them having to go try to do something about it. I don't know.
I almost wonder, and I don't mean this like in a railroady way, but logically speaking, Predathos doesn't want Imogen to die. So I almost wonder if there was a scenario where, she is going to die and Matt somehow,
True.
maybe they all find themselves in the nether realm or
Yeah.
whatever, consumed by Predathos and they have to get out or, I don't know. But I think even with a TPK there, I think there's likely still could be more to it. But who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a bunch of options. Like maybe lewdness would have showed back up or something. I don't know.
So the party, they have Predathos. I loved the flavor of Grumsh.
Yeah.
Hand of God.
Yeah.
So to speak. And then being like, nope, never mind.
I'm out. Yeah.
I'm good. I'm really curious. Like they're in Vasselheim, like the religious capital of the world.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
I'm
Definitely.
just very curious what immediate reactions are. What's the council going to say? Will there be some kind of like sense of backstabbing of like we sent you up there to stop Predathos and yet here you are with Predathos?
Mm-hmm.
Have we been double crossed? Like I'm very curious. And then I do wonder, are we going to get an audience with the gods, for lack of a better phrase, of like convincing them to become mortal?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really excited to see how this is going to go. We talked about a potential lewdness combat. Maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't, but there's some combat. Like there's no way there's not in 9 hours. So like it could be some of the powers that be in Vasselheim that maybe represent some of the gods or, who knows? But yeah, I definitely don't think it's going to be everyone agrees and this is very smooth sailing. Like I think there's definitely some stuff's going to go down. Be it from the gods themselves or from, the people of Vasselheim. But I feel like there's so many things that need to or could happen. Like the conversation with the mortals, the conversation with the gods, lewdness, the aftermath of whatever they decide. Because like what is the plan? Is Imogen doomed one way or the other as this vessel? Like, let's just say the gods flee. Does Imogen have to like flee after them? Because like Predathos is only dormant for so long, right? Like, what happens when he?
Yeah, I feel like there was some comment from Imogen about like Predathos is in me, but I feel him growing or something like that.
Yeah, like there's a timer on it for sure.
Yeah, there was some line like that. It wasn't like I'm good, I got these cool abilities. It was like definitely, yeah. So I think she's doomed.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be a bit of the tragedy of this finale. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a foregone conclusion or if could there be a way to transfer Predathos or is somebody going to come up with any other cuz what are the anti-Predathos people? What is their plan? Cuz like they can't kill her cuz then Predathos gets out. So like I'm curious to see like what they even want in this scenario or if they're just like, well, we're screwed now, like no matter what. This is already done, so I don't know.
I mean, it feels like there's also this element of like the religious people like, what does this even mean for our society?
Hmm.
With the gods leaving, if that does happen. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, and maybe that's how Ludinus shows up, is like knowing if Imogen is killed, then Predathos is freed. Maybe it's
Yeah.
like team assassination or something. I don't know. But not that, Matt would just out of the camera's view, just
Yeah.
Ludinus kills it. But
I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
I expect him to show up and do something, but we'll see.
Is the implication also that Ruidus is like breaking up? That it's like
I don't
Matt
know.
described like the earthquakes and shaking,
Yeah.
and I couldn't tell if it meant like it's literally breaking apart. Which if it is, does that also mean that like all the Druidians are isn't like there's a whole civilization
Yeah. Yeah, that's
on this
another
planet?
thing that kind of needs to be. I'm curious if it will be addressed because the Bloody Bridge is destroyed now too. So like the only way off is that portal. So are they gonna
Right.
funnel an entire planet through that portal? I don't know. But yeah, I don't know if like I don't know if Rudis is like imploding right now. I think it would if it is. I think that's would make sense. Like if Predathos like not because he was it like was him. So like maybe with Predathos gone, like it can't sustain or something. But I
Mm,
don't think we know one way or the other if that's like.
yeah.
Why is Siri talking to me? Sorry, I must have said something that triggered her. Shut up. Me saying it then triggered her again.
That's
Uh,
funny.
but yeah, I don't know. So like, yeah, there's that to handle too. Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, I feel like there's like, I don't know, maybe some of that stuff would be in a potential campaign for, but I don't know. And then like we talked about this last episode or the one before, maybe, but like, is there a curveball coming from Asmodeus amongst all of this? Like, where it's like,
Mm.
okay, we all agreed to become mortal. I'm going last, or something like that. And, maybe then there's something else that happens. I don't know.
On the count of three, jump. You jump first.
Yeah. But like hypothetically, let's say, and I don't think this would happen, but let's say they all agree to become mortal and they do. They actually do it. What does Imogen do then? Like, like, does Predathos just like, oh, well, I'll just be dormant inside of you and chill now? Like, I don't think that's really a possibility.
I get the impression Predathos is gonna like go out into the cosmos and try to feed whatever that expression means.
With like with
Regardless.
Imogen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless of these deities, I guess the presumption is maybe there might be more out there.
Yeah.
And so, Predathos would go out and try to eat them, I guess.
I guess that makes sense. Either, if he's got somebody to chase, great. But if not, I gotta go look for something.
Doesn't this also lead to like the Predathos problem of like a unkillable god eater like forever out there, wrangling around? Like it seems like kind of like a pretty unrestrained issue that maybe I'm sure it just never gets addressed, but it's kind of a big deal when you think about it.
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying, but it doesn't I guess it doesn't ping for me because it's just like, you know, it's just the natural food chain, like in my opinion. Like, because
Yeah,
there's not that they've ever been on screen, but there's supposedly like great eldritch horrors out there in the universe too. I mean, just
yeah,
some things are out there, So I don't know.
yeah.
But that made me remember something else you said about like how is Bell's Hell is going to be viewed as like since they came back with it. I don't, and not that the general public would have this understanding, but there was no way to kill it, was there?
I don't think so.
So
I
like,
think the option was either seal it or set it free. And Bell's
yeah,
Hells decided, well, it's probably better now to go ahead while we're here. We know we can control it. Let's go ahead and set it free so that we don't have to deal with this aludinous,
yeah,
for lack of a better phrase, the ludinous problem down the road.
yeah,
Also knowing that ludinous is alive and would
right,
probably try it again.
right.
Um, so Then again, though, like, would it have happened again? I mean, the Bloody Bridge was like a massive effort by Ludinus, and it took the apogee solstice to make it happen. So,
True.
like, when when would that happen again, or how realistic would it be that for someone to free Predathos again?
Yeah, I don't
Isn't an
know.
apogee solstice like every 70 years?
Something like that,
Yeah,
I
okay.
think. But I mean, also, like, they weren't really resealing him. They were just like, let's back away now. So,
Yeah.
like, could a Ruidus, are there Ruidus Borns on Ruidus? I don't know if that works or not, but like, could have
I don't
just
think
a
so.
denizen of Ruidus have walked down to the core and been his vessel?
No, I don't think so. I think it had to be an exaltant, which we
Yeah.
knew there were only a handful of.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't know.
which actually, so then, yeah. So, yeah. But yeah,
I'm sure these things will be discussed in character in Vasselheim. So maybe we'll get some, not that there is clarity, but maybe, I'm sure these things will be brought up.
Yeah. Well, I guess you guys let us know your theories and thoughts on what could happen, what's setting up for this finale. And, like I said, you should join us in the Discord for our final watch party of the campaign.
You really should. If you never have and you actually listen to us every week, come join us for this last one. I don't know what the cross section is there of people that like actually tune into this, but like aren't in the Discord. I'm sure there's some.
Yeah. I've seen people join the Discord and say, "Hey, I'm a first time. I just joined." So we know you're out there.
But we should. I don't know what. So like, I don't press me for any ideas because I don't have any yet. But like, it'd be fun to like do some stuff like special. Like I don't know what. Like maybe I don't know. I'll think of ideas now that I've said this. But like,
is this a Witcher season 2 kind of thing?
But I mean like just in the Discord during the finale, like maybe like have some like trivia or like I don't know, just like fun things to do during the 9 hours that we're gonna be all hanging out. So if you guys have any ideas, let us know.
Let us know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it.
Yes, sir. Second to last one in the books, man. Crazy. But yeah. So we'll see you guys Thursday, Friday as well, technically. But yeah, hope to see you guys there. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Alrighty, y'all. Until then.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Oops.